हरे कृष्ण। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय जन्मादियस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतश्चार्थेष्वभिघ्नस्वराः तेने ब्रह्महृदयादिकवये मोयन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। हरि ओम्। सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहि तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहि। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So from today we are starting a new YouTube series of lectures. The title is Vedah Satyam and the full title is Shabda Brahma Swarupam Vedah Satyam. The meaning of this term, this terminology will get clear as we proceed in this series. In short, you can say that Vedah, topic is Vedah. Vedah Satyam. Vedas, Satyam is used in a indirect sense. Direct meaning is true, truth. Vedah Satyam means all knowledge of this phenomenal world. That is the world which we see around us, and also the world beyond this, that which we cannot see. Para and apara. Jnana. Vedas are the source, both the times, both the types of knowledge. Shabda Brahma Swarupa, the Brahman, the highest reality in the Vedic tradition. They not it as Brahman. And like it of course manifested in three forms, which will be explained subsequently. See, Shabda Brahma Swarupa. Veda, it is Shabda, sound incarnation of the person, of God. So this is the meaning of the title. So in this series, we are going to cover different branches of the Vedic scriptures. How many Puranas are there? How many Upanishads are there? What is the difference between Aranyak and Brahmana? What are Upavedas, Akhyanas, Pancharatra? Difference between Agamas and so forth. These various questions will be answered in this section, in this series. We'll take each and every, because Vedic literature can be compared as a tree, and the different types of scriptures, they are the branches of that tree. So in each session, we'll take a particular branch and we'll try to study it. And subsequently, we'll also explain what is the content of that particular branch, contents of Purana, of a Purana, types of a Purana, Upavedas, Vedangas, Jyotish. And when we take Jyotish, we will explain what is Jyotish. When we take Ayurveda, everything will be covered in this series. In today's session, we are going to introduce Veda. And before that, we'll have an introduction, preliminary, uh, so that we get ready on as to why do we even have to study Veda. So the content of this presentation is introduction. First part of the introduction is ontology. It is a term. It simply means the objects of study. Sanskrit term is pramenya, so the object of study. If I am studying mathematics, the mathematics is the ontology, the subject of the study. The second part of the introduction would be epistemology. Again, a very rare word, but in simple terms, it means the means, the correct means of studying a subject. So, let's say if I have to study mathematics, there are many sources for me to study. I can go, I can ask my friend, I can study online. Online also there are various sources from a YouTube channel, from a book, or perhaps on my own also I can just kind of observe the world around me and try to understand. So the right means has to be there. That is the epistemology, means determining the right means of studying a subject. So for mathematics now I know the relevant, the best source is a teacher, qualified teacher, not my friend. My friend may not, like suppose my friend is a dumb student, so not necessary that there is a relevant, reliable source of study. So determining the correct source of study. So the objects to be studied, first we identify that, and then the means of studying that object. Studying the object, the nature of the object. Like that. So that is the thing. So in epistemology, we'll have the various sources of study. As I said, for studying mathematics, we can have YouTube, Google, a book, a reference book, textbook, or a teacher, right? And then we'll determine the perfect means of study, which would be the Vedas. So we'll have a brief introduction of the Vedas, the content of the Vedas, the branches of the Vedic literature would be the next topic, and then we'll conclude. Before that, we'll have Purva Patika. Purva Patika, in simple terms, it is the Sanskrit word for introduction. Purva, before, Patika. Some essential things which we must know. The next term is Samanya Satta. The word Satta in the Vedic tradition is used in a very technical sense. It has a very technical meaning. There's a lot of technicality attached connotation. However, in the meaning of the word is existence. Satta means existence. So Samanya Satta is like the normal existence. In this world, the any person who comes in this world, there's a cycle which he follows. There's a way he lives, he or she lives. He may be a poor person, born in a poor family or in a rich family or in a middle class family. He may be born in India or in America or in a tribal area, wherever. There's a sequence of activities. First, we'll look there are 20 points which we classify. It may not be present in each and every individual in the sense which we understand that, but in most of the people around us we see that is so. So we'll go through that. First is being born. That is the beginning. Everyone is born around us. And then is the infanthood. And there are two terms written in bracket: ignorance and joy. In infanthood, everyone is ignorant. He doesn't know what is going around. Even if he's hungry, he cries. He doesn't even know to express, or he can't even understand that the source of his misery is his hunger. He just understands that something is uneasy, and then therefore he begins to cry. But the source of that misery is not known. Therefore he just cries. Therefore, enjoy. Ignorance is bliss, as the saying goes. How correct that saying is, we'll look, see. So actually, it's the other way around. But anyways, there's no knowledge, anything, joy. If there's happiness, enjoy. If there happiness and pain in a infant's life. Then comes, then begins the hustle, right? The primary education. So primary education means from kindergarten to, you can say from fourth grade. fourth standard to fifth standard. That is a primary education. So herein he is taught English. He begins to learn the phonetics and the alphabets of any language. A, B, C, he begins to read, he begins to study how to read these alphabets or pronounce these alphabets, how to write this and the basics, mathematics, as the number system, the basic operation. That is there. Then comes the boyhood. Boyhood is from, it's a phase. And this is with respect to the body. So the body is first in the infanthood, then in the boyhood. So there the only motive is to play. And the source of misery is injury. Injuries, it's not only the physical injuries, but something which hampers his play in the which he likes. So there's a little sense, the little cognition is developed, and that is the essence of boyhood. Next comes the secondary school education. That's from the sixth, seventh grade, sixth, seventh standard to you can extend it up until ninth, tenth grade. And therein there is some advancement. There are some advanced concepts which have been introduced to him. Then is the college life. That is the plus two, the intermediate or 11th, 12th, as we say. And the here in the next point it will get clear. Youthhood begins. So a full-fledged discussion has been developed in the sense of what is good for me and what is not good for me. And also there is a sense, there's a that discretion of gender, that there's an opposite gender. Well, it's a very important thing actually. You may wonder why this point is worth mentioning, but it's a very important thing because that brings that is a major component of emotions and the main mental state herein is the emotions and energy. There's a lot of energy, many ideas. There's no experience, that's a different thing, but there are many ideas which are there, but there is no means to bring them into a tangible reality. And there are emotions. There's anger, the manifestation of anger, there's the manifestation of uh, heartbreaks, and all sort of heart attacking or heart attaching things. There is a degree course for there is an undergraduate study, university study, whatever, science, stream, commerce, engineering, doctor. Then begins the career. So when most of the people for them career means the job model of employment. Some enter into business and all the everything until now, the degree coursework, the secondary education, the primary education, and all the teachings which are given at home in the boyhood and in college also, in the youthhood also it is given, but it's a doubt that how much is actually being taken. All the purpose for that, everything is for this career. Everything from here for this career job. Education now has been so degraded. The purpose of the education is just to know how you can make money. And then comes the manhood. That is the mid 20s. So there is zeal. The ideas which were there here, now there's a clarity of at least the beginning, the initial stages, the clarity of how to bring them tangibly, in a tangible life. And there are setbacks. So there are huge setbacks. There are many problems in the emotional life, in a career. Perhaps they also go for some higher studies, postgraduate studies, or some diploma, something specialization. So there is many things which happens. It is an advancement of youthhood, which youthhood is an advancement of boyhood. Because in boyhood also, the main thing is to kind of be happy, and it begins to manifest. That. There's some procedure to obtain that. Then comes the Another important thing for which job is done, employment is done, mostly for people. May not be true in each and every case, but majority is marriage. So you study to get a job, you do a job, you get married, you do marriage. At least up until a couple of decades back, the reason was a child. Now, it's because of society, there's a different preference, different priorities. It's still the family life is the main motive predominantly. And there is home. So now the person is in his mid 30s. Child is born to him, and now he purchases his own house. He has to raise the children. This raising children is specifically refers to the initial stage, the infanthood of the child. And there is a children education, and then the time just flies, and the person arrives at his middle agehood. That is, and there the emotion, and on the mental stage, there are two things. There is health issues, and there is maturity. Now he is seeing the world. He is, his hair, a good portion of his hair has turned grey. And he has seen things, he has manifested things, he has failed in many things. And so there is maturity, there is some wisdom, there is development, there are health issues begin to begin to manifest. And the children manage. And then there is a retirement. Now things have changed a little bit because it is not necessary that people retire properly at age of 30. Ways it is so such that even after 60 they have to work. So unfortunately, now things have changed. But still, there is a retirement phase in everyone's life. And then there is the old age. The health issues which are there in the middle age, they manifest as diseases. And there is ignorance. That is exactly in front of this. The memory, the cognitive abilities, they dwindle drastically. And then there is a death, the end for everyone. So if you see, it may not be true in everyone's case. For a person born in a poor family, there is no, unfortunately, there is no education. But still, it may be present in some other form. Everyone, there is some sort of education. They learn something, nothing from by others, but at least on their own observation, they learn some things. So this is the normal routine, the samanya satta for each and every person, and that's what he observes. If someone is intelligent, he's a sharp observer. In his youthhood, only he can, when he observes people around him, he can see these phases. These things are present in everyone's person. They've been born, they go, they studies, they do job, they get married, children, raise their children, purchase their own homes, they have their own family, their own property, and they begin to accumulate and have ownership. And then the children get married, they retire with old age, diseases, and then they die. Satta, again, continue. There are some vital observations which a person can actually make. So these observations are the eye is different from the body. That eye, which was there in the youthhood, is the same eye which is there in the manhood, which is there same in the middle agehood. That same eye. The body has changed, but that eye remains. That eye is the same when the person first time punished in his primary school. The same eye who is completing his degree, perhaps with flying colors. It's the same eye who gets the first heartbreak of life. And it's the same eye who is finds a love partner, life partner. And the same I who becomes parent. So that I is same. The body changes, the situation changes. The I is same. The second thing which we observe is the driving force behind all the actions is happiness, which is true in every hood, the youthhood, in the boyhood, in the middle agehood. Behind every action which he performs, the aim is happiness. It could be that no, I do things for the happiness of other people. That is true. But still, it is done for because it brings happiness for oneself. So the main thing here is happiness. That becomes the driving force. Next vital observation, which says that okay, so I'm different from the body, driving force behind me, what behind every action of mine is happiness. He observes that he has got this body and there are senses through which he acquires information. So when I touch something, you know something is wrong, so I would touch that. You know the taste, something is sweet or bitter, I would put it on my tongue. To hear something, I will bring that object. Like suppose there's some audio messages there, so you will play it and you will hear it on a to comprehend a message. So the senses, they are the source of acquiring information. Now, how do the senses acquire information? That is when the senses come in contact with the objects of this world. Unless you don't touch the glass, you won't be able to understand the temperature of the water. Unless you don't bring the flower close to your nose, you won't be able to conclude whether what kind of smell is there. And when the senses they come in contact with the objects, we get pleasure. But there's the nature of this pleasure. The pleasure is temporary. And there is also a nature of us that we are behind it. Because everything is transient. The food which we eat, we get the taste, but it is for some time. Happiness which is there in one's life. It is there and after some time it changes. And there's the cycle of happiness and misery, pain, happiness and misery. So everything is transient. And of course the definition of the pleasure itself is a relative definition. What may be pleasure, source of pleasure for one may not be the source of pleasure for the other person. But still we observe that there is, apart from this pleasure tendency, there are other tendencies also. There's a proclivity for perpetuity. When we are very happy, we just pray, may this continue, may life just remain like this. Or when we are with someone, with our beloved, so we think that, may I always stay with you. Or there's also a sense, this also refers to the propensity of a person to, I want to live, the, the defense which a person has to save his life. Because there's a proclivity to perpetuity in normal circumstances. Sometimes the circumstance is such, the mental situation is such that a person may think to end his life, but in a normal circumstance, there's a proclivity, perpetuity, and there's inquisitiveness. So these are the vital observations of this world. So when the normal phase of the life, the different phases of the life, which when we see them, there are some vital observations we have, and then there are some questions, which is called the Mula Prameyas. There is some fundamental questions. Mula Prameyas, Mul means the root, or fundamental. Prameyas are the objects of study. But before that, there are some fundamental questions. And the question is, who am I? Because I'm different from the body. Who am I? Because I'm someone who is conscious, and I can comprehend things. Question is, who am I? And the next is, what is the purpose of life? Because I see that I have a proclivity for being happy. So happiness is the purpose of life, and There is also inquisitiveness. There's also a tendency to save, to save, to whenever there is some danger to life, with proclivity to save myself, to save my life. The question, what is the purpose of life, also includes what is the world around me. So when we ask the question, who am I, we also the following question is, what is the world around me? Is there a creator of the world and of me? And the interconnection. What is my connection with this world? Because I see no different from the body, and there are objects in this world. Some of them bring happiness to me, some do. Answer to these questions is the answer to the question will be covered, will be will become clear in subsequent talks. But there's a nature of the answer. That is, there's one right answer and many wrong answers. The right answer asserts that it is independent of space and time, meaning any person at any point of at any point on the wheel of time, at any place under any circumstance, will get the same answer. So the nature of the answer is such that it is independent of the nature of the circumstances, of the nature of time. So someone in the 15th century, someone in the 21st century, someone in Europe, someone in Asia, someone in a born in a poor family, someone born in a rich family. The answer the same. The right answer, we have the same answer. And the wrong answer is heavily subjected to the ambient circumstance, to the surrounding. And thus the the wrong answer, it is an impartial, it is a partial and sometimes incorrect comprehension of the truth, because it is subjected to the conditions of the surrounding. So it is a subjective. So now we have covered the introduction, the prameyas. Prameyas, prameyas are, who am I and what is this world of me? Now we are going to cover the meanings of studying. The first one is pratyaksha. The Sanskrit term is pratyaksha, which means sensory perception. So as I said, if I want to know if the glass is hot or not, I will touch it. If it is cold, I will get to know. So sensory perception. When I see someone is running or someone is not there. So when I see someone is gone from position A, from location A to B, then I conclude if I've seen that person. The second one is anuman, inference. We observe that wherever there is fire, that is when there is smoke. The smoke is preceded by fire. So on a mountain, when I see smoke, I can conclude that there was fire, because I've observed that many places, wherever there is fire, there is smoke. Or whenever there are clouds, black clouds in the sky, I can conclude that it is going to rain soon. The next is Shabda, revealed sound and knowledge. Veda. Shabda means basically Shabda is sound, the literal translation. And in the Vedic tradition, it refers primarily to the Vedas, the sound. The next is Arsha, statements of authoritative sages. In simple terms, it refers to, in modern times, it refers to some scientific personality. When, say, famous scientific person who is studied, who is very well versed in the subject, after research, when he says something, so we accept that. Of course, with proof, he gives the proofs, but when he says something, it is being understood, it is taken as right knowledge, because it's the word of an authoritative person. Next one is Upama, analogy, comparison. The next methodology of doing things is by analogy. Analogy is like we say the gavya. Gavya is like you can say a wild cow. So a gavya is similar to a cow. So if someone doesn't know how a gavya looks, so we tell him that it's an animal which looks similar to a cow. When that person goes to forest, he sees a being similar to a cow. And then he says that, oh, it looks similar to a cow. It's a gavya. That is analogy. So through analogies also, there's a way of knowing things. Arthapatti, presumption. It's an interesting way of uh, knowing things. So suppose there's a person who is alive, who is a well-built personality, and we see that he we never see him eating at the daytime. Daytime in the sense morning, noon, and evening. So we can conclude that he eats at night. Now we have not seen him eating at night also. Okay, because we observe him at day and we saw that during the day he is not eating. At night we don't know because we haven't seen him. But we can presume that he eats at night because he's alive and he's well. It's, say his weight is also constant, or rather it is increasing. So we can conclude because but when we assume a fact, only then the reality which we observe makes sense, comes true. So that is presumption, as we many a times we have to presume because otherwise situation the facts they do not it is impossible to reconcile them. And anupalabdhi, next pramana, that is a non-cognition of an object. So suppose there's a table in a room and someone asks us, is there a book on the table? We say no, the book's not there. How do we say that? Because we didn't see the book on the table. So in basically the meaning is the non-cognition of an object. So meaning is that when an object is not present, that we conclude that it is not present. Now it may seem what kind of phenomena is it, but it's actually very it's a negative sensory perception. Within sensory perception, it is important to have the contact of the sense with the object. Only unless and until we see the book, we can say the book is present. But when we don't see the book, we conclude that it is not present. So the non-cognition of an object. So when we say that there is no cow with or we can say that there is no cat with two horns. Not because we have never seen them. So we conclude. So this is it's a information, piece of information that there is no cat with horns because we have not never seen such being. The next type of pramana is sambhava, inclusion. In 100 rupees, 20 rupees are included. So these are not, of course, these are not like the very major kind of epistemological or methodology of knowing things. But these are some ways of understanding things. We can understand that within 100 in 100 rupees, 20 rupees is included. So that is the meaning. The next topic is Athiya, tradition. That there is a saying that there is a ghost lives under a banyan tree. So that is a tradition because we heard it. And that is how, that is the source of information. The next one is Cheshta, gesture, through gesture. So it is also a very important source of communicating knowledge. So someone is at at a distance of 1 kilometer from here, 500 meters, let's say. So by gestures, they're asking me, but how many people are there? By his hands, he's saying, oh, that is an important way of communicating knowledge. The next topic is so these are the 10 in the Vedic tradition. Those, however, are the 10 major ways of doing things. Now we are going to decide the best way, best methodology. These 10 can be classified in principle three pramanas. There is a pratyaksha, anumana, and how is being shown. So Arsha can be put in Shabda because it is statements of authority. So Shabda, it means that authoritative word. So we will come to the actual definition what it means in just a couple of slides. After a couple of slides. Upama, analogy, is also a combination of Shabda and Anuma. So as I said, that Gavya looks similar to a cow. So first a person speaks to one, to the other person. So that is Shabda. Then he goes to the forest and then he's there's an analogy. There's a Anuman, there's a inference because he sees the characteristics of a cow. Like with the physical appearance which matches. So that he applies the logic. So that is Anuman. It is a combination of Shabda and Anuman. Arthapatti, presumption. That is derived from Hanuman. So that is also an inference. There is a logic that some person not eating in the daytime, so it means that he is eating at night. Anupalabdhi, on cognition of an object. That is also derived from pratyaksha, we can say, anti-sensory perception. So because we have not seen the table, we have not seen the book on the table, we can prove. It is not somehow inclusion. That was again inferred, derived from Anuman, because 20 rupees is included in 100. That is logic. Atiya, tradition is again included in Shabda because those are words, person. Gesture is again protection because when someone is indicating number three by his fingers, so unless we don't see it by our eyes, so eyes are involved. That is again the part that derives from. Now we are continuing. So we are now going to determine the best source among the three: Pratyaksha, Anuman, and Shabda. We'll see the flaw. Pratyaksha, the flaw is the four fundamental defects: Brahma, Pramada, Vipralasa, Karana, Apatana. These are the Sanskrit terms. They will be explained in detail in future classes. Basic meaning is that there's a tendency to be under illusion as there are optical illusions. So our senses cannot be dependent because they can fall illusion. There are sensory, there are optical illusions. There are audio illusions. There is a tendency to make errors. We can make errors, calculative errors, for example. There's also a tendency to cheat. Cheating propensity is there. And also Karana Apata, which means that the senses are then themselves imperfect because the eyes cannot see after a certain range, or they cannot see the the, the eyelids, the object, the thing very close to the eyes cannot see that. Or sound, they cannot after a certain frequency. It can only hear the sound from 10 hertz to I think so from 10 hertz to 10,000 hertz, infrared and the other types of radio waves. It cannot comprehend that. The next type is the instrumental functioning limitations and conditions. So as I said, it is included in the four fundamental defects actually. The Karana Apata. Karana means the objects, and Apata is the imperfections. So we'll cover that in the subsequent classes. So because the senses they require a condition only under certain conditions and under a certain environment only they can function, and that too in a limited. They have a limited range. Invalid for acquiring knowledge of past and future phenomena. So what has happened now 300 years back, it is impossible for us to understand that by our senses or what will happen in the distant future. Invalid for the trans-empirical matters. So for something which is beyond the senses. For example, quantum mechanics cannot see the atoms. It is that's imperfect. Now this in this sensory perception, the there is also the instruments, satellites. We may say we can see through the satellites or through the telescopes. Yeah, that is true. But actually, they are derived from our senses, meaning the humans only build. Machines build machines, but machines are built by machines, which machines are in turn built by machines. Fundamentally, if you go to the source, we conclude that it is ultimately it was built by some human being. The source is a human being. Human made something, and so out of that something else is produced. So the senses are imperfect. Therefore, that imperfection is there. So We can only see up until certain range, where let's say till 25 kilometers. The telescope can see thousands of kilometers. There are limitations to that because when the source itself is problematic, then the effects, the object, the products of that is will also have will carry the, the problems. So of course the EDA, the the functioning is there is an advanced functioning, but still there are errors because the, one example is for the trans-empirical matter, something which is beyond this world, beyond this empirical world. The empirical world doesn't mean the planet Earth, it means the visible universe. Because we say that 5% of it's 5% of visible universe, and 95% of dark matter. So we just can't comprehend our instruments cannot comprehend that. Next is the Anuman, inference. The four fundamental defects are again applicable over here because even in conclusion, so when we say that there is smoke on, there is fire. Well, the smoke is it's not smoke. It is like it is even after rain, there is smoke, or we confuse the dew for smoke. And where it is not necessary that wherever there is fire, there is smoke. In kitchen, there is fire, but there is no smoke. Philologistic error, the erroneous conclusion, which is by the faulty middle term and major term connection. Major term. So it's a very technical thing. And basically, what it means is that so in on a mountain, when we say that there is smoke, and we know the principle that wherever there is smoke, wherever there is fire, there is smoke. So we see the symptom, the smoke, and then we say that there is fire. But this connection has to be there. The middle term is the symptom, and the major term is the principle that wherever there is smoke, wherever there is fire, there is smoke. It can be wrong because it is not always necessary. There are conditions, as they say. So if or there is the smoke is not due to the fire, but it is due to the rain. So the conclusion, everything is the whole conclusion is wrong. So if you are unable to properly conclude, properly observe things, or we have misapplied the connection, logic we connect. So we'll cover that because the main aim of this video is to explain how Vedas are the best means of knowing things. If one doesn't understand these terminologies, there's no problem because everything will be repeated afterwards in the concerned section. If subjected to conditions, the conclusion's veracity is not absolute. Basically, what it means is that if there are conditions, so if we say that if and only if the fire is in Asia, only then the smoke is preceded by fire. In America, that is not applicable. So it's a faulty animal. It is subjected to conditions. In that too, under certain climatical conditions. So the veracity, that is the conformity to the fact, it is not absolute. It is variant. Invalid for acquiring again. If someone says that where was there a fire, find it is back on that mountain. It is impossible. Therefore, Shabda is the best, and it is not the elimination method. Even we can prove how Shabda is best. So, first, the basic definition is that a meaningful articulate sound spoken or written by an apt Purusha, a trustworthy person who is an authority on the subject matter in question. Is a person, learned person. And etymologically, it refers to the Vedas. So that means Vedas, as I previously also said. And Vedas can also speak about the trans-empirical matter. It can also speak about matters of distant past and that of remote future. And it is also independent of the sensory and other instrumental functioning limitations and conditions. Why that is so will become clear in the section because Vedas are Apaurushaya. That's the reason. Why that is what it means, it will be told. So the conclusion is that Shabda is a perfect Praman because it has stood the test of time. Whatever it says, it's true. It is also true for the matters beyond this world. It is also true for the matters of this world. It is also true for the matters which had happened in the past and what will happen in the future. The fact is that when you predict something, and when that time comes, what is happening, it confirms to what was written in the Vedas, what was written in the scripture. So that is the proof. We will cover that because basically the aim, the purpose of this course is that those who know these things, you know, it is good for them. There will be a revision for them, and they can also understand. You know, there can be some clarity, revision. Those whose concepts are a little bit unclear, little cloudy, their concepts will get clear, refined. And those who are completely ignorant of these sorts, so they will get introduced to this. So, and over time, it will be covered. The Vedas. Next topic is Vedas. So first we'll give a prelude to the Vedas. The Vedas word, it's a Sanskrit word, and the root word is with, like the running is the word. What is the root word? Is run, following. So the root word is follow. So the root word here is vid, which means to know, or to acquire, or to understand, depending on the context. Because in Sanskrit, a word can have multiple meanings. It depends on the context. Atma can mean body, Atma can mean the soul, Atma can mean the Lord, or the God, Paramatma, or it can mean the self itself. It can also be used for insentient objects as ancient innocent for non-living objects. In the Vedas, the content of the Vedas is known as Kalpavriksha. The reason is because from personal sensual enjoyment to liberation from this world, they fulfill all desires of a variety of people. Thus, they are like desired people. Therefore, they are known as Kalpavriksha because they can just satisfy every knowledge, material of this world or of this beyond this world. Everything is there. And this knowledge, how is this passed? It is passed through the generation via the preceptor pupil disciplinary line, that is the Guru Shishya Parampara. The teacher teaches to the student, student in turn that he learns things, and after that he passes the knowledge. The prelude is continued. The Vedic literatures are designed and composed in such a way so as to fulfill the desires of all living entities because God fulfills the desires of all beings. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetanam eko bahunam yo vidadhati kama. Because that one person can satisfy any sort of knowledge, any sort of desire of any person, he can fulfill that. That is how. That is the nature of Veda. How that is will become clear in the subsequent classes. So don't worry, this is just an introduction. Even if you understand nothing, that is fine. There are just 4 topics, 4 to 5 topics, which are there in the conclusion. If you understand that, that is sufficient. The Vedas are like a manual book. So basically, consider this world to be like a refrigerator. So the manufacturing company, when they manufacture the refrigerator, they have a manual how to use it. So Vedas are the manual of this world, and thus they contain everything. They have a manual of how to live, live the life, and how to leave, that is how to die on it. And they in a manual also because what to do in a technical manual. So if a product fails, or if there is this case is there, then what to do? That case is there, what to do? In emergency case, what to do? So every scenario is covered in that. It may not be each and every scenario may not be applicable in each and every every person. For every person who buys a refrigerator, actually it is mentioned in the manual because it may not be applicable for you, but still it will be applicable for someone else. So that is why Vedas, everything is given. If someone has a desire to eat meat, there's a procedure of how, in a way, that there is a gradual evolution of his consciousness. In that way, there's a procedure for him to eat meat. But there are also injunctions for people who are already on an advanced, evolved stage to not eat meat. Otherwise, it will be sinful for them. So, both of them is spoken of in the Vedas because it is It caters to needs of individual, each and every individual's desire. A manual of a product contains all the information, as I said. If the minutest detail is present within the manual, and referring the manual and following the instructions, user can smoothly use the refrigerator. So, if a person wants to live peacefully in this world, wants to leave this world peacefully, then he has to follow the manual. That is the manual. That is how to live. Well, how do I understand? How do I believe in this? We'll see that. But it is something which has stood the test of time. Actually, there are people in past. There are people in present. There will be people in future who, when they follow the guidelines, they will it will be beneficial for them. The next topic is the scope of Vedas. The scope of the Vedas. What are all things there in Vedas? So generally, when we hear the word Veda, we think of four words: Rig Veda, Sam Veda, Yajur Veda, and Atharva Veda. But however, this is an incomplete understanding because there is an extant portion of the four original Vedas. Extant means what is surviving. So what we know is the four books. If we go to some library and we just purchase four books, it can be published in more than four volumes, but we only understand we know these four books. But actually, it is very incomplete. Vedas is something it's beyond. It's now what we have is something left over of what originated. So Vedas had previously means it means knowledge. Vedas they contain all knowledge. Any branch of knowledge, be it spiritual, be it material. That is, be it of this world, of this trans-empirical world, or of something beyond this world. Present in any part of not only this world or this universe, but the entire cosmic creation is present in the Vedas. The original, actual source of any knowledge is the Vedas. If we trace back the origin of any science, we will find its origin in the Vedas. And it is very true. If one studies archaeology, history, there are so many documentations also which are there. And actually comes gets to understand that it is in fact very it's very true. The line of everything which we see, anything, any knowledge, source of system knowledge, which is there. Inspiration, the source is the Vedas. Therefore, no person should actually claim to invent something. Nothing is possible by any person past, present, future to actually invent something. As everything is already invented. So we can discover something. Therefore, we should simply refer to the scriptures and gain knowledge. We can rediscover that. That is right. We can discover that. We can reinvent that. That is true. But we can invent something. Everything is how it is. The Vedas are not actually present in the whole sense. Now it is said that only 5% is remaining. 500 years back, when Saint, the Gaudiya line, Yoga Swami, he said 5% is now remaining. Now 500 years down the line, it is now only 2, 3, just reduced. 95% is lost of what was there on this planet Earth, and not the entire range of knowledge is present on this planet. There are some things, some knowledge which is not available for humans. In the Vedic times, the primary focus of science and ultimately of human life was eternal and not the temporary. Human progress meant cultivating spiritual knowledge for the advancement of spiritual awareness, yielding souls a release from the entrapment of material world, which is temporary and full of ignorance and suffering. Because now, in the modern times, what the primary focus of science is how do we ease our life? Every invention, everything is done to just ease our life or to benefit people so that they can do, to make people's life easy and they can do something. Or there's curiosity. For some people, there's also curiosity. But in the Vedic times, the primary focus of the life, the mission was, it was very well understood because it was in part of education. These concepts, fundamental concepts, that we are not this body, we are the soul. We are different from this body. And the soul is not, it doesn't belong to this. to this world. There's some this the it's in a foreign land, and therefore the main aim is to get released from this thing, from this world, and everything with this understanding, everything was done. Dharma, Artha, Kam, Moksha. Of course, we'll cover this in great detail in the next lecture. But in brief, is that with this understanding, the moral principles, every moral principle which are there, not that every moral principle which is there is true. Moral principle, the morality of the principle of ethics, it is based on some fundamental tenets which will be covered in the next class. Those concepts have to be there. So the point is that it was very well understood, and these tenets they form the basis of education. That is what defines morality. Even morality, wisdom cannot be defined without understanding the Veda, the Vedic principles. And based on these ethics, wisdom, the artha, the next aspect of the economic activities. Because this world we need to sustain for sustenance, activities are needed to be done. And based on that, then gratification is done. Then ultimate the release from this world. The release from this world is based on this. And so originally there was only one way. Only it was divided into four parts. Lord Brahma, he has four faces, four mouths. Thus, and when he first spoke the Vedas, his four mouths, the mantras were mixed together because he simultaneously spoke from his four mouths. From east, he spoke Rigveda. From southern face, he spoke Yajurveda. Like that. So, when Srila Vyasadeva, everyone must have heard Vyasadeva, he has written all the scriptures. Not written in the sense he is compiled. Knowledge was already there right from the beginning of the creation, from the dawn of the creation. But he sorted, the mantras were mixed, so he sorted them into four divisions. So, Ruk, Atharva, Yajur, Samna, Rashir, Udrutva, Vargashaha, Chaptastra, Samita, Chakure, Manitiru, Antre, Mani, Gana, Yajur. And these division was done on the needs of the four types of priests which are involved in the yajna. The translation, English translation that we can say is sacrifice. So yajna is also a very integral part of Vedic tradition, Vedic culture. What is that is will be covered in detail in the next lecture. So Rigveda, Hota. So the first way Rigveda was for the Hota priest. So the yajna, those who know, they can relate easily to it. Vedic mantras are chanted to invite the devta on the sacrificial ground where necessary. The division of the Rigveda is like in the mandala, sukta, and mantra. So there are 10 mandalas in the extant portion of Rigveda. And in each mandala there are many suktas, and in each sukta there are many mantras. Next Veda was Samaveda. So when the devtas has come, they entertain them. So they can train mantras to entertain the Vedas. That is why it's in a musical tone. The Samaveda hymns, mantras are very musical. Yajurveda, Advaita priest. So they contain the mantras on how to perform the sacrifice. So when the devtas will come, now the sacrifice is performed, now things are offered then. And he makes offering to the devtas who are present there. And Atharva Veda, Brahma priest. So actually when the things was classified in the three types of Vedas. So whatever was left, Shila he put it that in Atharva. Atharva. Atha Eva. Whatever was left was put in the fourth Veda. So the Brahma priest, so he is the head. So he oversees the entire yagna, whatever. So he is knowledgeable with the Hota, Udtata, and other you. He knows everything and he's the main superintendent of the entire yagna. The tree of Vedic literature. So in this image, you can actually find all the different branches of scripture. So we'll cover each and every of this in the subsequent classes. Next, like in one class we'll cover the Vedas, and in one we'll cover Vedanta, Shiksha in one class, Vyakaran in one class, like that. In brief, I'm just explaining in this video. The Vedas is already covered. So each and every Veda, there are four parts components to Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, Upanishad. And so when there is a Taittiriya Upanishad, there is a Taittiriya Aranyaka, Taittiriya Brahmana, and Taittiriya Samhita. And there were 1,130 components which were divided within these four. And each and every component had a Samhita part, a Brahmana part, Aranyaka part, and Upanishad. So each and every component has a Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, and Upanishad portion. That is there. We'll have the characteristic of Samhita, what separates from Brahmana, and everything we'll cover. Next, we have the Vedanga. These are the limbs. These are the preliminary subjects which are to be studied before we study the Vedans. Diksha, the pronunciation. Vyakaran is the grammar. Nirukti is the it is the you can say the Vedic dictionary meaning. Chandas, so procedure, and Jyotish. Like the astrology is a part of Jyotish. It is astronomy and everything is there. And in Kalpa, the rituals. The Shrotra is all the Vedic different sacrifices. This Agnishtama and Ashwamedha, Adasi Yagas, all those the procedure for those yagnas are given in the Shrotra sutras. And Shilpa is the Vedic geometry. Geometry in the Vedic times it also had a very divine purpose. And in the Vedic times, so the yagnas which were performed were very complex, very complicated procedure was to be followed. And the drawing and everything, the yagya, the yagasali, everything had to be, there were geometrical principles which they had to comply to accurate. There were no scales in those methodology. There were some Vedic methodologies. So that is covered in the Shulba. And the Gruhya Sutra. So for a Grahastha, those are household life, that is, who marry, in marriage. They There are rules, the samskaras, the 14 samskaras, which are there from the birth of the child, from the conception, when the child is conceived, from there to Shraddha ceremony. Samskaras are so the rules, the procedure for following that, and in general also what the rules which a grahastha should follow, and the pancha yagna will cover. So if these things, if one is not familiar with these concepts, that is fine. But just explaining it very shortly, very briefly, what is the meaning of this in scripture. So, and Dharma Shastra, so there are four varna and four ashramas, which is based on the characteristics are not on birth. Yasya lakshanam proktam punso varnadi yunjakam yad anyatra vidrishyata tat teneva vinirvishit. In the seventh canto of the Bhagavad Purana, Narad Muni says this to Yudhishthira Maharaj. That whatever is the characteristics, based on that, a person should be in a varna or in an ashram. And if he belongs to one ashram, to one varna, but he shows the characteristic of other, then he can transfer to them. So there are 20 dharma shastra like Manu Samhita, Yajnavalkya Samhita, Vashishta Samhita, like that. 20 extent of 20. Then we have the Upavedas, the sciences, roughly you can say. Ayurveda, the Indian medical science. It is not only the human body is covered, but there was also Vriksha Ayurveda. There was also uh, the horse, Ashwa. Ashwa Ayurveda was also there. So it's a very huge science. And it is also covered in a metaphysical way, how the body is related to this world in general. That is also covered very detailed and very like in modern ways, if you have to put it, very incorrect way of saying, but it is spiritual and it is material. There's material aspect to it. There's a bodily aspect to it and scientific aspect to it. And then Dhanurved is not only it is a weaponry science. Not only the bow and arrow, but every type of weapon is covered there. Of course, Not much scriptures are left, but that is also there. Arthashastra is economics and political science. How to Rajaniti actually terms. How do you maintain the statehood, the policies, the foreign diplomacy, and everything is covered over here. Chanakya's Arthashastra, very amazing book. A very good example of Arthashastra. Stapatya and Shilpa. This is Indian architecture. And Shilpa is sculpting. So for sculpting a murti, it's a very technical process. Very many rules are there. Even so for Shilpa, Shilpa Shastri, for scriptures which uh, they give the rules. And in Stapatya in the Indian architecture also, it's a very amazing topic. We'll cover this. Krishna willing will cover each and every of this in the subsequent talks. And then Gandharva, Natya Shastra. So this is not only Natya, it's not only dance, but there is dramaturgy and every type of art is actually covered here. And it is also very detailed how dramaturgy is to be done. Next we'll take darshans at the end. We have the Tantra. First we'll cover the Agamas. So Agamas is also a type of scriptures. Vaikhanasaras, Shaiva, Ganapatya, Saura, and Shakta. So these are also, this is actually the, the Durga worshippers, Shakti worshippers. That is the Shakta. Saurya is Surya, Ganapatya is Ganapati, Shiva, Vishnu. And this was followed in the Vedic times. Those who were not up to the Brahminical platform, for them Lord Shiva spoke the tantras to bring them to the Brahminical. For them who were not on the Brahminical level, they could perform tantric vidhis. And there is a left part and a right portion. The left is what the black magic and all of that, but there is a right portion also to it. That is a very genuine science. We have the Puranas, Mahapuranas, the main Puranas, Bhagavad Purana, Padma Purana, Brahma Purana, Brahmanda Purana, Linga Purana, and the Upapuranas, because it is based on the characteristics. The Purana has 10 characteristics, Upapurana has 5 characteristics. It deliberates on the characteristics. So we'll cover that. Sarga Vesaga, Sthanam Pushamati, Amanunta, Rani, Shanagata, Merudamutyashi. These 10 topics are there. And then there is a further classification also, the Mahapurana. And Upapurana, there is Alpapurana. And then there are Upakhyanas. So there are 18 major Puranas, 18 minor Upapuranas. And Upakhyanas, there's no single digit assigned to it. Some say 18, some say 54. That is undetermined. That is also there. You have the famous Itihas too, Ramayana and Mahabharata. Difference between Purana and Itihas is that in Puranas, the various topics are covered. But in Itihas, it revolves around a single story. In Ramayana, it is the story of Ram, Lakshman, Sita. And in Mahabharata, like majorly of Ram and Sita. And in Mahabharata, it is the stories of Pandavas. Kavya Shastra. Again, there are 2 parts, Dravshyam and Sravyam. The poetry and dramaturgy. Then the Pancharatrik Vidhis. Pancharatra is Pancha and Ratra. So it is said that Lord Vishnu he spoke with science in 5 subsequent nights, 5 different sages. That is the Pancharatra. So there is also the details of how do we perform worship the deities, primarily Vishnu or the Chittajiva or Krishna. So we'll cover that. It's fine. One is not able to understand that. And then there are Vidyas, Rasayana Vidya, chemistry, Paka Vidya, cookery, Vimanic science, aerospace, science of making aeroplanes, Lakshana Vidya. So this is a very interesting. So Samudrika Lakshan, that is the name of the scripture. So that based on characteristics of a person's, his limbs, we can determine that. We have also Darshana Shastra. So the Vedas, the Vedangas, the Upavedas, the Puranas, the Itihas, the Agamas, these are the Vedic scriptures. To interpret them, there are darshan. How do we understand that? There are 6 main. Primary are 6. There are others also, but main are 6. The Maya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Patanjali Yoga, Purva Mimamsa, Vedanta. Vedanta is the best because it is defeated. Nyaya Vaisheshika, it can be used. Nyaya is logic. Sankhya is also a good deliberation of the material nature. So if you don't understand, there is no problem in that. We will cover each and every of that in great detail. And in Vedanta, there are two portions to it, Advaita Vedanta and Advaita Vedanta. Advaita is Sripad Shankaracharya's line, which he had propagated. And Vaita is in the understanding of difference between the Jiva and the Brahman. And there are four aspects, four sampradayas, Vishishtad, Sripad Ramanujacharya's, Sri Sampradaya, Shuddha Dvaita, and there is Shuddha Dvaita, and there is like the Madhva Sampradaya is Dvaita. Like that, it is there. Shuddha Dvaita. And this is Shuddha Advaita. There's a difference between these. This is Shuddha Advaita. This is the of Vishnu Swami's line. And this is Shuddha Dvaita, Madhva's line. And Dvaita Advaita is Nimbarkacharya. We'll cover that. There's no problem. And Ajinda Bheda Ved. It is was, if you see historically, it is an offshoot of Shuddha Madhva's line. This is the Gaudiya Parampara. So this is in brief the tree of the Vedic literature. We will cover each and of that great detail. It is just to introduce us. So any type of scripture, of it is part of one of this category. So now we'll conclude. Conclude means upasamhar. The essential takeaways are 4 points. If you understand these 4 points, that is enough. Everything else will be covered in the subsequent classes. To understand that we are not the body, we are the soul. Now you will say, when did he prove? Actually, it is not exactly proved in this talk. But in that Samanya Satta slide, we were going through different stages. So when one is thinks of on that, we can understand that different from the body. And to be convinced that to understand ourselves, this world around us, and ultimately the fundamental truth, the after meaning is Veda. Just to be convinced of that fact. That is the main point. So if only this much is understood, that is sufficient. A glimpse of various Vedic literature. So if you don't understand the technical details which were spoken, that is fine. We'll cover that. And the last one is the Vedas contain all kinds of knowledge. That is Vidya. Para, the transcendent beyond this world, and mundane, apara, of this world. Like Ayurveda, Natya Shastra, Nartha Shastra, these are for the apara Vidyas. And the Darshana Shastra, particularly the Vedanta, Paravidya. That which is spoken in Upanishads is Paravidya. Vidyas are like the Rasayana, chemistry, and all that is mundane, mundane Vidyas. So that is the main takeaway from this lecture. If you are convinced of these 4 points, that is sufficient. And here we'll end the talk. If there are any questions, so that can be posted in the comment section. It will be taken up in the next class. And if some question, no, if those questions are like will be explained in subsequent classes, then they will be explained in that at the right time. We'll conclude over here. यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यस्तवै वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रम उपनिषदैर्गायन्ति यं सामगा ध्यानावस्थिता तद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुसुरसुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेव सर्वावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।